With everything going virtual, Toronto-based Unwrapit is extending that to gifting as well. The team strongly believes that giving gifts and making a positive impact can be one and the same. And we have the co-founder Linsay with us today. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so
So
much for having me.
awesome. So just to get started, so at Unwrapit, you're building gifting solutions for socially and environmentally conscious companies. So could you further
Yeah,
unwrap this for us and let us know what and how exactly are you doing it?
sure. Unwrap it, no pun intended. Thanks so much. Yes, we are fundamentally we are a tech startup. Yes, for sure.
Mhm.
But really, we're a social purpose business. We really believe in designing the company to create positive social and environmental outcomes. And sort of in that new, you might have heard the term sort of humane tech. So we really feel like we're in that space and we're really excited about it. When we tell people that we've built a platform that delivers virtual gifts, that are personalized with choice, it's brandable. Ultimately, it takes away the headache of procurement of gifts, physical gifts. Sort of the overwhelming feeling we get from people is, this seems like such an obvious solution to a major problem. And
Right.
I've really been, sort of hard pressed to find a person that I've been speaking to over the last little while that hasn't, attended an event or been sent a gift by someone that
Mhm.
ultimately it ends up in a junk drawer. It's the whole like another plastic bottle, another tote bag, another mouse pad, and all of these things there's great intention behind it, but the
Right.
reality is that it all has to be manufactured and it all ultimately ends up in landfill.
Mhm.
So we sort of started with the whole concept of you start a business by solving a problem, and we certainly feel like we're doing that. What we know is that the corporate gifting market in North America alone, and potentially a little bit further into worldwide, is estimated to be over 125 billion
Okay.
dollars. That was in a Forbes. I was outlined in a Forbes article in 2019, and we know that the vast majority of that is physical gifts.
Right.
And again, they all have to be manufactured. They're destined for landfill. So we kind of embarked upon this knowing that the idea of conventional corporate gifting and swag is really being, I would say, rendered obsolete because of three main reasons. First, obviously, the work from home. Thanks to COVID, here we are. And I'm in my kitchen right now, so we're all working from home. Not all of us, but a lot of us are working from home. We're attending events virtually instead of in person, which creates the need for a virtual solution, basically.
Mhm.
There's of course the climate crisis to talk about. We're more aware of that, I think, than ever before as a society. People are looking for sustainable options. They're noticing more so, I think, when things aren't sustainable. And they're becoming more savvy. And then the final thing is consumer preference. People are looking for personalization. They're looking for like the cool factor. They want to see, it be unique to them. So all of this adds sort of a level of complexity in this new virtual world. Companies need a new way to surprise and delight their attendees at events, their clients, or even their internal teams, like your team,
Mhm.
right? What are you doing for your team in this new world? So ultimately, here we are. We help Unwrapit helps enterprise companies spark and maintain meaningful connections through an innovative and slightly quirky and really easy to use platform. It's practical. It's a disruption of the status quo. Instead of those water bottles and mouse pads and chocolate boxes and all that sort of thing, we're
Right.
providing companies with a way to give really interesting gifts, a variety of gifts virtually. So think about like Disney Plus subscriptions or
Mhm.
virtual Napa Valley wine tours,
Right.
donating to a charity that you're passionate about, getting your furniture assembled by TaskRabbit. All
Mhm.
of it's possible and
Okay.
delivered to the gift recipient in a fun way. So
Okay.
we're really proud of that and looking forward to what that looks like for us.
Awesome. I mean, that's really smart and innovative. So, diving a bit into your processes, so how do
Mhm.
you or how would you ensure a seamless experience for the purchaser on
Yeah.
one end and the user of these experiences on the other side?
Yeah, great question. Well, we're launching our MVP in March, so just a short
Mhm.
time away. We spent the last few months iterating and sort of reiterating on the recipient and the admin experience.
Right.
Talon, who is one of my fellow co-founders, Talon Pintz, He and his team have done an incredible job. They've conjured up this amazing platform and this UX experience as a front, at the front end of it. And then ultimately, they've also created this really robust admin capability too. And our plan is to launch with a more hands-on approach that will sort of manage the admin element of it at the beginning to support our customers and ensure that their recipients are having a really seamless experience. But once that back end is fully live in the admin side of things, the customers are going to find a really clean, it's fun, it's got great graphics, it's step by step, and it's going to be a really easy way for them to set up their gift campaigns. Okay. So ultimately, gift recipients will be able to claim their gifts within the platform itself and then redeem them, immediately directly with the vendors using potentially a unique code or a link, depending on who the vendor is, and making it as easy as possible for them to get those gifts and minimize that friction. There's no app to download, there's no account, there's no yet another password to remember, which is the challenge, right? That really is. So the idea is that they're receiving those gifts, and those gifts are available to them whenever they want. They can authenticate it themselves. It won't get lost in a desk drawer and that sort of thing. And we're focused on a large range of gifts that people actually want to receive. And we did that. We actually really, we did a really cool thing back in December, sort of on the heels of Black Friday and Cyber Monday. We did sort of a crowdsourcing exercise where we asked people through LinkedIn, to weigh in on what they would want to see. And we thought we knew, and we had some really good ideas ourselves, but we got some great input from other people as well. So it's really fun to see that list of really usable, tangible, useful gifts coming together.
I guess it's still open on your website, right? People can.
It is, yeah, it is. That's right. Yeah, you can still add to it and certainly vote up. The idea was to vote up the concept. So.
Right. No, it's such a great idea. I remember the first time. I mean, I don't remember a lot of gifts that I got while working for corporates, but I remember one which was a preloaded card. It was preloaded with a certain amount of cash, and I had used it for 2 different experiences, and I still remember experiences. So, I mean, you're going one step ahead and letting people, decide those experiences as well. But that's something right, that's etched in my memory. So yeah, this is a great product for sure.
Good to know. Good to know we're on the right track.
And how did you guys, come together and start this? Like, did you know each other from before, or you just met and brainstormed and thought of this idea and just got down and started working?
Yeah, no, great question. It's actually kind of probably the most interesting part of all. A couple of people have told Peter that he should actually write about this. He should write an article and, talk about it, because Peter and Talon and I, so Peter Dietz, Talon Pence, and myself, we didn't know each other before all of this, before we came together to create Unwrapit, which is pretty unusual, I think. Most co-founding teams, oftentimes there'll be 2 people who know each other, and then they might bring on additional people, but none of us knew each other. So Peter initially had an earlier iteration of the product. It was more of a B2C focus. And he ultimately recognized 2 things, to have success. First of all, there was so much opportunity in that B2B space, and much more, again, going back to our focus on, the social impact piece. There was much more room for social impact and on the sustainability side within the B2B world, right? And also he recognized that he couldn't do it alone. He decided to set upon a deliberate co-founder search, and he did that back in the spring of 2020, which was pretty brave considering everything that was going on in the world during the spring of 2020. And for me, I was deep in the pandemic depths. I have 2 young kids at home. I was trying to manage that, plus a pretty demanding role, which I loved. But I knew things were changing for the company at the time and for me. And so, I was looking at other options for sure. I personally had lived and worked in the UK for a number of years. When I left university, I worked in the events sector. So that's kind of where I got my start. My training ground was in events. When I moved back to Canada, I went into the nonprofit sector. Initially, I worked specifically for a breast cancer charity. I'd actually lost a friend, a really close friend at 24 to breast cancer. So that was a real motivation for me. And she really inspired me to get involved in that, in that work. And I really enjoyed that. I was there for a couple of years. I went to the Women's Executive Network after that, and ultimately kind of flowed from events into kind of an operations role. So it was sort of serendipitous timing, that I saw Peter's post. I was working for this awesome company that's an engineering company. They manufacture products, construction products out of recycled car tires for sound attenuation in buildings. So really cool, again, taking something that otherwise would end up in landfill and making something really useful with it. And it was a really high growth, super scaling company, global team. I was wearing a lot of different hats. I had that kind of entrepreneurial spirit, and I was able to really hone that at Plytech. But yeah, I saw the post, and as I said, it was serendipitous. I met with Peter. We hit it off, immediately. We sort of informally started to work together throughout the summer, in snippets between newborn babies, which his, not mine, me extracting myself from this business that I've been fully immersed in for, 2.5, 3 years, full-time parenting, of course. And, by the way, in the middle of a global pandemic. So we did all of that, continued the search for the sort of all important and stabilizing third leg of our stool, the technical co-founder. And Talon saw Peter's post too. Again, like a really, talk about a LinkedIn success story, really amazing. Wow. And so with the shares and the likes, Peter's initial post just kind of exploded and so many people saw it. So it hasn't been easy, as you can imagine, to start a new business at this time, and certainly start a new partnership together virtually. We spend a lot of time on Slack. We're on Slack all day, every day, send each other notes, messages, Giphy. You can imagine it's pretty fun. Yeah. So yeah, I think that it's a really cool story. We've come together, the three of us. We're really different in a lot of ways, which I think is great and really important. And also we obviously have that sort of core fundamental belief and ethos that we can do better. There's better, we can do something better in this particular sector, and what we can hopefully make of it.
This is how networking should be done, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. And I usually ask entrepreneurs, about their challenges in the journey. But as you guys have just started, I'm sure you would have faced challenges here as well. I would like to, twist that a bit and ask you, how did you get from, that idea zone to the action zone? I guess you guys would be discussing a lot of things, as you mentioned, on Slack. So how did you move yourself or get over that phase of staying in an idea zone and start doing things?
It's funny. I was perusing my LinkedIn feed last night. Talon calls it doom scrolling, but I call it perusing. And I came across a really great post by Simon Sinek. So, he's an author, speaker. And it resonated because it just said 3 simple things: dream big, start small, but most of all, start. And I thought, like, that's just it, right? Just start. And we just started in those early days when Peter and I were first starting to know each other. And again, as you've said, we've just started out. Like, I'd love to revisit this conversation in a year, in 5 years. And, but I think it is an interesting kind of snapshot in time for sure. And we were just getting to know each other. But, again, this is whenever we were able to sort of still see each other, physically distanced, but, in person. And we got out our laptops and just started iterating together. We talked about value proposition and, even did some copywriting and just sort of played around with some things. And that time I was sharing that with one of my friends, and I was speaking to her, and I said to her, yeah, it's really great. We're already kind of working on some of this stuff. And she said to me, well, shouldn't you wait till it's more official? Like, you're officially, moving forward, and you have your third co-founder and you got your paperwork signed. And I said to her, why? Like, what's the worst case scenario, right? We decide not to work together. And I've spent a little bit of time potentially, shaping this really cool platform. Like, so I think that's a good example of just start. Peter's an entrepreneur at heart. He has his initial business, Grant Book, is also an amazing, a B Corp, amazing business. And he really follows that mantra of, like, consistent action equals consistent results. Right. And I would say my mantra, is like progress over perfection. And I'm a recovering perfectionist. So it's taken me years to get to that point, but I really think that's it, right? Progress over perfection, We just jumped right in. That first week, we worked on the website. Peter's the Wix master. I'm not. But together we worked on the content. Is it perfect? No, but it's tided us over for now. We're really excited about our new website that'll come out at the same time as the launch of the product. But the book demo button that we have on that site, it actually sent us, I think, over 10 demos were booked in that first month, all inbound interest. Yeah, exactly. So imagine if we just sat around and kind of ruminated over that site and said, oh, well, we'll wait and we won't do it. Meanwhile, 3 months later, that site has brought us, we've had over 40 conversations. We've hosted over 30 demo calls. We have this growing pipeline of companies who want to use the platform when it's available. So, it's the whole thing of like, just get started. And at a minimum, I would say, pick up the phone. Like that's one of the first things I did is pick up the phone. I started calling a few trusted people and just sort of said like, hey, this is the idea. This is what we're thinking. Tell them about it, and ask them to pick at it with you. And, ultimately that's action.
Right.
And validation. Right. So, yeah.
Awesome. That's so inspiring. And I think it would be, pretty useful for anyone who is listening and is sitting on their ideas and just needs that little bit of inspiration to, get into the action zone. So thanks for sharing all those insights. And lastly, so you mentioned that your MVP is coming out in March, but after that, what does 2021 look like for you?
Well, hopefully I'm going to say end in quotation marks of COVID. We know it won't end, but hopefully we'll, be able to move through to a time where we'll be in a little bit more normalcy. As you said, we're launching our MVP in March, which we're really excited about. That'll be with a select group of companies that can help us sort of shape it as we move forward. We'll keep iterating, keep a relentless focus on our product. We want to ensure market fit. I read a really cool article that was on First Round, I think, and it was Rahul Vora, who's the founder of Superhuman. And he talked about how, the best way to measure product fit and market fit is the level of disappointment at people not having access to the product. So I really love that concept. And we've talked a lot about that amongst the three of us. Ideally, we want to be launching this and then get to a point where people who are using it are saying, oh my gosh, like, how did I not use this before, right? Like this makes so much sense. We also are excited to submit our B Corp assessment.
Nice.
Yeah, so the B Corp, hopefully we'll be joining I think it's about 3,500 organizations around the world who have this designation. At the end of the day, we believe that business can be a force for good and we want to be part of that. We hope to complete a seed round to support our ambitious growth, of course. And ultimately, we're just really focused on the fact that impact is baked right into our product, right? It's eliminating the gift waste. It's in the gifts themselves. They're charitable. There's charitable options. You can pay it forward. But also, as we grow and as we move forward in our hiring, in our suppliers, in our policies around, how we do all of those things and make sure that we're keeping mindful to all of that. So yeah, and personally, I keep learning, keep growing, keep becoming a better human kind of thing, learning and continuously learning. I think it's a really key skill. I'm a generalist sort of at my core as a person in my career. And I think that that's really valuable. And it forces me to keep learning new things and diving into things as well. So yeah, the three of us are really excited, Peter, Talon, and I. And yeah, lots to come for us in 2021 for sure.
Awesome. I'm really excited to see your first product launch. So really excited to see that. And thanks for sharing all those insights. I mean, doing B Corp at this stage speaks volumes about, your values and what you want to base the company on, because the assessment would definitely provide you, with a path, and it would set the foundation for you, basically, like how you should deal with different aspects of your business. So incorporating that at this stage, I mean, that's really thoughtful of you and the co-founders. So well, thanks a lot, Lindsay. This was really insightful and inspirational. This is a great product that you're building, and I think most of us would think like, wasn't it there before? Like, isn't it such an obvious product? But no, I mean, I haven't seen one, and I'm glad you guys are doing something in this regard. So thanks again for joining us today and sharing all those insights.
Thank you. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk about it. We really appreciate it.